Part 138. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 1372. He Hongmei and Xiaofang originally planned to stay in Sanya for a week, but they only stayed for 4 days. At noon that day, when they were eating in the restaurant, they called the director who worked on the TV series Xiongnan last year and asked He Hongmei. That Feng Xiongnan is on summer vacation? Can you help me contact her? He Hongmei said, we are in Sanya together and she is next to me. Do you want to talk to her on the phone? Yes, the director said. He Hongmei gave the phone to Xiangnan and told her, Director Ning, it was you who asked you to make a movie last year. Xiangnan talked to the director and then gave the phone to He Hongmei. He Hongmei talked to the director again. After putting down the phone, she asked Xiangnan, what do you think? Xiangnan's face turned red and he lowered his head and said nothing. Everyone else looked at the two of them. He Hongmei said that she still wanted to film with Xiangnan. The director said that this year there will be more scenes than last year and it will take 20 days to shoot. If Xiangnan agrees, we will rush back to Hangzhou immediately. Go to Hongdian to meet the crew. Xiaofang said yes, isn't this a good thing? Why, Xiongnan, you don't want to make a TV show? Before Xiangnan said anything, Zhou Ruyi and Zheng Xingxin shouted, Go, go, how can you not go to the TV shoot? Zhou Ruyi and He Hongmei said, many people in our school saw the TV show that Xiangnan filmed last year. Xiangnan immediately outperformed those in the school drama club. If it is filmed again this year, people who watch it will be more. Xiangnan, I want to watch you film a TV show, Zheng Xingxin also shouted. Zhang Xiangbei asked He Hongmei, is there anyone fighting? He Hongmei said with a smile, this TV series is about fighting and the anti-Japanese war. The director wanted to cast Xiangnan to play a small military worker. The way Xiangnan did somersaults last year impressed the director deeply. Go, sister, go take pictures, and I want to go watch too, Zhang Xiangbei shouted. I want to go too, Sun Xiangyang shouted. Everyone present was very excited. Only Xiangnan lowered his head and remained silent. Zhang Chen asked Xiangnan, you don't like filming TV? I like it, Xiangnan said. Zhang Chen asked, then why didn't you agree to the director? Xiangnan looked up at him, her eyes were red, she was about to burst into tears, and said, Mom won't agree. She said that it will be the 3rd year of junior high school when school starts, and she will start sprinting for the high school entrance examination. She has already signed up for tutoring for me. After returning from Sanya, I will go to a cram school. Do you want to go? Zhang Chen asked. I think Xiangnan nodded. Zhang Chen said okay, then I will talk to your mother. Zhang Chen picked up the phone, walked to the side, and dialed Tan Shahen's number. Zhang Chen told her about this. Tan Shahen turned it down as Xiangnan said, and she said, Zhang Chen, what time is it? Nanan is in the 3rd grade of junior high school at the beginning of the school year and will take the high school entrance examination next year. Do you know how competitive the high school entrance examination is nowadays? Nanan's academic performance is average, and I am still anxious. It doesn't matter these 20 days, Zhang Chen said. What do you mean by not caring about these 20 days? My children have been attending various cram schools since elementary school. I am just starting to cram it now. There is not enough time, Tan Shahen said. Besides, what competition are you going to participate in? You can get extra points for getting a prize in the entrance exam, but there are no extra points for doing TV. Zhang Chen, don't make trouble in this matter, Nan must go to cram school. Zhang Chen said with a smile, I don't care about these 20 days if I just have to improvise. How many points can she get in 20 days? How many more points can I take? I'm thankful for just one more point. Zhang Chen, do you know how many people in Hangzhou are taking the high school entrance examination? Do you know how many people can be eliminated with 1 point? Everyone is aiming for the top 10 key schools. If you score 1 point, you may not be able to go to a key high school. Do you know what it means if you can't go to a key high school? Let me tell you, you are basically insulated from key universities. After Tan Shahan finished speaking, she added, then Xiongnan basically has no choice but to go to those crappy schools in Xiaxia. Why is the school in Xiaxia so bad? That teacher Ma graduated from Hangzhou Normal University, Zhang Chen said. Don't make excuses about him. He is a monster and a special case. Tell me again. Who else is there besides him in Hangzhou Normal University? Zhejiang University, Tsinghua University, Peking University. Count them all with your eyes closed. A lot, right? Please, Zhang Chen, stop making trouble. When Zhang Xiangbei takes the high school entrance examination the year after next, you will know the seriousness of the situation. This is the last summer vacation for Xiongnan. By the way, Zhang Chen, I would like to remind you that Xiao Zhao is no longer here, so don't delay Zhang Xiangbei. According to me, you Zhang Xiangbei should also prepare early. You can also participate in cram schools this year. For the high school entrance examination, you can't be vague about things, everyone is watching. It's no use even if I have a good relationship with the director of the education committee, and it's no use even if you ask Li Yong for help. Hey, Tan Shahan, why did you teach me a lesson instead? Zhang Chen scolded. You are not clear-headed. If you don't teach me a lesson, who will teach you a lesson? I will teach you a lesson for Xiao Zhao. I think it's your brain that's not clear, Zhang Chen said. Tan Shahan, why do you look more and more like old teacher Tan? Let me tell you, Xiangnan really wants to take the photo. If you don't let her go, be careful, Xiongnan will hate you. Besides, isn't it just tutoring? Xiaofang is nearby. I'll talk to Xiaofang and let her help Xiongnan tutor. Xiangnan listens to Xiaofang the most. If Xiaofang helps her with tutoring, the effect may be better than sending her to a cram school. Tan Shahan was silent on the phone. It should be said that Zhang Chen's words about Yu and Lao Tan hurt her. She also knew that Xiangnan liked filming. If she didn't let her go, it would be wrong according to Xiangnan's temper. She might really still hate her. At the same time, Zhang Chen tempted Xiaofang again by asking her to help Xiongnan with tutoring. Tan Shahan said, Xiaofang doesn't have her own affairs, do you treat her like a bully? She is willing. I will tell her, Zhang Chen said. Tan Shahan, then this matter is settled. I make the decision. No, Zhang Chen. Stop being so nagging, hang up. It's my mother-in-law's fault. Zhang Chen hung up the phone after saying that. Zhang Chen walked back and told He Hungmei to call the director and go shoot. Several children cheered upon hearing this, and Xiangnan also laughed. He Hungmei walked up to call the director. Zhang Chen told Xiaofang that Xiongnan would take the high school entrance examination next year. Xiaofang shouted. That's right, Nanan will take the high school entrance examination next year. The level of competition is no less than the college entrance examination. Nanan, which courses do you have better scores for? Xiangnan said, mathematics, chemistry, and biology. Ha, that's what I'm good at, Nan, while we're filming TV, how about I help you with your classes, Xiaofang said. Say yes to the South. Zhang Chen and Xiaofang said, Tan Shahan reminded me that Xiangbei's grades were not very good, and he was already in the second grade of junior high school when school started. Then come together, and I will also prepare lessons, Xiaofang said, turning to Zhang Xiangbei and asked, Bei. Before Xiaofang finished speaking, Zhang Xiangbei shouted, everything about me is rubbish. That's because the learning method and attitude are wrong, Xiaofang said, I'm going to twist you around. If you don't obey, Auntie will also pick up your ears. Zhang Chen and Xiangnan laughed, and Zhang Xiangbei asked, then it's useless for me to call mom for help. It's useless, your mother and I are on the same team, Xiaofang said. If you don't study seriously, no one can save you. He Hongmei walked back and told them that it was settled. We would fly back to Hangzhou tomorrow morning, then drive from Hangcheng to Dongyang, and meet the crew in Hongdian in the evening. They had already arrived. Xiang Nan let out a long sigh. Zheng Xingxin pulled Xiang Nan and Zhou Ruyi, and the three girls walked aside, discussing something. After a while, the three girls came back and stood in a row in front of Xiaofang. Zheng Xingxin said to Xiaofang, "And Xiaofang, can you not tell my parents that we will return to Hangzhou tomorrow?" Zheng Xingxin knows his parents and talks to Xiaofang on the phone every day to ask her about her situation here. Xiaofang looked at her and said, "That's not okay. I can't lie to your parents." "No, no, Aunt Xiaofang, don't tell your uncle and aunt that we have returned to Hangzhou, so that Zheng Xingxin can go to Hongdian with us. She will stay in Hongdian for 2 or 3 days. She just wants to see how I film. The two of them we will return to Hangzhou soon, so in terms of time, it will be the same as returning from Sanya." Xiang Nan looked at Xiaofang with pleading eyes and kept talking. Zhou Ruyi also said beside him, yes, it's only 2 or 3 days, and we still have different times to go home." Xiaofang shook her head, but she still insisted that she couldn't. Zheng Xingxin became anxious and cried, "If I go home, I will be dead. I will definitely not be able to get out or go to Hongdian." Xiaofang thought for a moment, and then she said to Zheng Xingxin, don't be anxious, Xingxin, let's do this. I'll call your mother and talk to her, okay?" Zheng Xingxin nodded repeatedly. Xiaofang stood up with her mobile phone. She expected that the call would take a long time. She told Zhang Chen and He Hongmei, "You continue to eat? I'm full. I'll go down and make a call." Zhang Chen and He Hongmei agreed. Xiaofang left. Zhang Chen asked Sun Xiangyang, "Your father, do you want to ask for leave?" "Yes," Sun Xiangyang said. Zhang Chen called Lao Sun, and Lao Sun agreed immediately. Then Zhang Chen called Zhou Ruyi's father and told him about the matter. His father said, "Xiang Nan is going to make a TV show again? She filmed it last year and we all watched it. She acted really well." Zhang Chen said yes, this time the filming was in Hongdian, and Zhou Ruyi wanted to follow Xiang Nan to Hongdian for 2 or 3 days to see how Xiang Nan shoots TV. Zhou Ruyi's father said, "Okay, no problem. I want to see how Xiang Nan makes TV shows, but it's a pity that he has to go to work." Everyone else was done, leaving Zheng Xingxin alone. She was restless as she sat there, with Xiang Nan and Zhou Ruyi comforting her. Xiang Nan said, it's okay. Isn't Aunt Xiaofang on the phone? She will definitely be able to convince your mother." They ate for another 10 minutes, then went downstairs and saw Xiaofang sitting on the sofa in the lobby, still talking on the phone. Seeing them, Xiaofang pointed to her phone, which meant that the call was still going on. Zhang Chen and He Hongmei looked at each other and shook their heads slightly. They both thought that this ideological work was too time-consuming. At noon, the hotel lobby was deserted. Everyone had gone back to their rooms to take a nap. Even the person responsible for signing in behind a table in the lobby, a sign-in desk for the meeting, slipped away. Zhang Chen and the others were afraid of disturbing Xiaofang's phone call, so they did not sit on the sofa. Instead, they walked out of the gate and stood at the gate looking outside. The beach in the distance was deserted. If it weren't for the endless layers of the rolling waves and the azure sea give people the impression that they are still, just a large piece of blue in a daze under the sun. They stood there for another 10 minutes, and Xiaofang finally ended the call. This call made her face turn red. Xiaofang came over and told them that it was okay, and the persuasion was successful. The three girls screamed ouch. Xiaofang looked at Zheng Xingxin and smiled and said, to be on the safe side, I have convinced your mother that you will not go home when you return to Hangzhou and go directly to Hongdian with us. Zheng Xingxin nodded repeatedly and shouted, "Thank you, Aunt Xiaofang. Thank you Feng Zhongli. Monthly ticket for book friend 201905281830300544. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Good evening to everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1373. Zhang Chen still had something to do in Sanya. He did not return to Hangzhou with Xiaofang, He Hongmei and the others. He Hongmei suddenly appeared and left in a hurry. Zhang Chen has a lot of things to do in Sanya. In the evening, he has to take turns inviting Xiao Ding and Su Lixing, as well as the leaders of the base, to dinner. In the morning, he has to have morning tea with Jason and Jacques to discuss design matters. During the day, he has to when he went to the Banmushan Hotel on Renmin Road, there were several areas that needed to be reworked. Zhang Chen had to watch them do it himself and even teach them step by step. Otherwise, returning it will be in vain. When you talk to these foremen and workers, they all seem to understand it. Zhang Chen also thought they understood it, but looking back, he found that the work was completely messed up, so he had to do it all over again. Zhang Chen tried after 2 times, I didn't dare to leave anymore. I simply stayed there and acted as a supervisor myself, watching them do what they did. He finally understood why Jacques had to be present in person even to lay the floor tiles for the parking lot. The overall construction level in this place was like this, and the supervisors were as hummed up as the construction team. This made Zhang Chen complain endlessly. I had no choice but to return to my old profession as an instructor. When Zhang Chen left every morning, He Hongmei hadn't gotten up yet. Every night when he came back from socializing, there were a lot of adults and children together. The two of them felt that they didn't have much time alone this time, and neither of them had a good conversation. We are leaving tomorrow. Tonight, everyone went to Chun Yuan seafood food stall for a late night snack and came back. The two of them took a shower and did not go to bed. Instead, they moved the sofa to the floor-to-ceiling window, turned off the lights in the room, and talked to each other. Sitting there snuggled up, looking at the stars in the garden outside and the dark sea in the distance. The two people seemed to have a lot to talk about, and they didn't seem to know where to start. They just looked at each other's obscure and mottled face with the help of the light shining in from outside, and touched and kissed each other with their hands from time to time. Zhang Chen looked at He Hongmei. The waves from the swimming pool outside reflected in and kept changing on He Hongmei's face, making her face sparkling. Zhang Chen felt that He Hongmei was very close at one moment and very far away at the other. He held her hand, and when he felt it was far away, he tightened it, lest she slip away. He Hongmei felt it, smiled softly, and asked quietly, "What are you doing?" Zhang Chen told her how he felt. He Hongmei sighed and said, "I think you are the same way." The two people's bodies were closer, and their heads were touching. After a while, He Hongmei laughed softly again, and Zhang Chen asked, "Why are you laughing?" He Hongmei said, "Now even Xiaofang has given up on trying to get us married." After a pause, Zhang Chen asked, "Yes, why can't we get married?" He Hongmei stretched out a finger and pressed it on Zhang Chen's lips, indicating that he didn't need to say anything or ask. He Hongmei turned around and sat on Zhang Chen's lap. The two kissed. Zhang Chen looked outside through He Hongmei's hair. He felt that the whole world in front of him was furry. Zhang Chen sent them to the airport. In a corner of the airport waiting hall, the Sanya Travel Products exhibition was being held. The children ran to buy gifts for their families. The three adults lined up to check in. After completing the check-in process, they stood in front of in the passage leading to the security check-in area. From the check-in area, we are waiting for them to come back from the south to the north. Brother-in-law, you should be nicer to Sister Hongmei, Xiaofang and Zhang Chen said. Zhang Chen and He Hongmei both laughed, And Xiaofang said, I mean it. Zhang Chen nodded and said yes. Xiaofang looked at He Hongmei and said, my sister is gone. In my heart, you are my sister. You should also be nicer to your brother-in-law. He Hongmei took Xiaofang's hand, shook it, and said, I understand, treasure. I'm just a little worried, Xiaofang said. Zhang Chen and He Hongmei both looked at her, waiting for her to continue. Xiaofang continued, you two are too smart. Smart people are actually the stupidest. What they are best at doing is torturing each other. What nonsense, He Hongmei scolded. Really, look at the instability and turmoil in the entire world. It's not all caused by smart people. Those mediocre people, even if they want to make something happen, don't have that much energy. At most, they can only if you tie explosives to your body, run into a crowd and explode. Only smart people will start a world war, Xiaofang said. Yao Mei, you've gone too far, He Hongmei smiled. Far, not at all. The truth is like this. When a smart person doesn't have the chance to mess with the world, he will mess with himself and the people around him. Both of you have this tendency, especially you, Sister Hongmei. Xiaofang looked at them and said seriously, holding He Hongmei's hand and echoing for a while. For 3 consecutive days, the Ban Mu Tian store on Huihei Road in Shanghai closed at 9 p.m., an hour earlier than usual. Careful people will find that although the store has closed, there are still many people coming in and out. However, the door has been closed. When someone comes in or out, it opens a crack and then closes immediately. Behind the door, it seems like someone is still guarding it. The self-relocation deadline stipulated in the contract is coming soon. Xiaomi is using the last time to hold a week-long event to give back to VIP customers and private custom customers. The discounts for this event are very fierce, and the whole audience is excited. All are 50% off. You must know that this is not an end-of-season sale, but a product of the current season. In major shopping malls in Shanghai, the lowest discount is still 12% off. One of the important reasons why we have to make it so mysterious and secretive, and not offer big demolition incentives like other stores, is to thank our VIP customers for their support to Half-Acre Field over the years. After the store is demolished, everyone they will have to wait until 2 years to meet again. Unless they are VIP customers who have upgraded to private customization, they can go to Jinmao Tower. Another reason is that their counters in major shopping malls are still selling normally. You are offering a 50% discount here, and the clothing department manager of the shopping mall is still not scolding you. They could only make it an internal activity. But because this event allows customers to bring their friends, a lot of people are attracted at once. The time is set from 9 to 10 o'clock every night, but in fact, Xiaomi and the others have to wait until 10 o'clock every night. I don't get off work until about 1 o'clock. Every customer who bought clothes and was about to leave held Xiaomi's hand. Everyone knew that this store would be demolished soon, and they felt reluctant to leave. This store is more than just a shopping place for these VIP customers. Even if they don't buy anything, they can always come in with their friends when they go to Huihei Road, go up to the 3rd floor, sit down, and enjoy nice free coffee and refreshments. Sometimes, just because they were bored at home, they would come here to sit, drink coffee and tea, and read original fashion magazines. This was a rarity at the time and could not be seen everywhere. Or chatting with other VIP customers who came to the store, going to Lingling Market, feeling that it was no longer boring, and then went home. Or go ahead and go to a hotel for dinner together. It can be said that this store has been a part of their lives. Now that it is about to close, it is equivalent to cutting off a corner of their living space, and they feel empty in their hearts. Many people know that Xiaomi still has private customization, and it will continue in Jinmao Tower, but not every VIP has the ability to become private customization. They can only pretend not to know when weighing their own wallets. Xiaomi didn't particularly publicize the private customization in front of them. She had to find out the details before attacking accurately, otherwise it would hurt people. On the third floor of the store, Xiaomi's official office has been moved to Jinmao building, and now it doubles as a warehouse. The clothes that are to be returned to the factory are packed in boxes and piled in Xiaomi's office. After the new office was settled in Jinmao building, Xiaomi couldn't help but really started to find Gong Shui. Xiaomi asked Xiaoli for the address of Gong Shui's company. Their company is on the 46th floor. Xiaomi and their half-acre farm is on the 35th floor. There are 5 to 6 elevators in the Jinmao Tower office building every 10 floors. Elevators are directly accessible. The higher the floor, the greater the number of direct elevators. Therefore, the elevator to the 46th floor did not stop at the 35th floor. Xiaomi could only go to the first floor first, and then change the elevator to the 46th floor. Gong Shui's company is not small in scale. They own half of the 46th floor. The glass door of the company is open. When you enter, you will find a front hall. Behind the long front desk, there are 2 reception ladies. One was on the phone, and the other saw Xiaomi coming in and said to her with a smile, "Welcome." Xiaomi walked closer, and the other party continued to smile and asked, "Madam, which department do you want to go to?" Xiaomi said, "I want to inquire about someone." "Which department does he belong to?" "Do you know his name?" the other party asked. Xiaomi shook her head and said, "I don't know which department she is from, but her name is Gong Shui." When the other party heard this, he smiled and turned to look at the other receptionist. That person had already answered the phone. After hearing Xiaomi's conversation, she came over and said, "I am Gong Shui, what do you want from me?" Xiaomi was surprised when she saw the work badge on the young lady's chest. Her name was indeed Gong Shui. Xiaomi originally planned to go to the front desk and ask if there was a real person named Gong Shui, then go to the front desk to find out who the person was and then quietly withdraw. Unexpectedly, the person who came in and had a head-on confrontation was Gong Shui himself. This is really embarrassing. What's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter with me? I can tell the other party that it's nothing. It's just that you are shopping online, which has aroused the curiosity of many of us. I am just curious to see who you are. Can it be so 250? Xiaomi hesitated. Thank you for the reward at 3 o'clock in the middle of the night, Doll Tin Soldier, and reading the book every day. Thank you for your monthly votes at around 3 o'clock in the middle of the night, Tianying 1978, Zhengji, and Book Friends 201702251419429997. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1374. Xiaomi quickly calmed down and said to the other party, "Hello, Gong Shui, I am from Ben Muishan Clothing Company. Have you bought a lot of our company's products online?" "Yeah, what's wrong?" Gong Shui asked. "I just came to ask if you have any suggestions or criticisms about our company's products," Xiaomi said. Gong Shui laughed and asked, "Everyone who buys your clothes, you will follow up and provide customer service like this?" No, Xiaomi quickly explained. She said, "We are not following, but, aren't you a high-quality customer of our company, and our Shanghai branch just moved to your building? Come on, these are all neighbors, I'll come up and take a look." Gong Shui nodded, understanding. "We are on the 35th floor. You are welcome to come and sit if you have the chance. There are also a lot of clothes here," Xiaomi said. Gong Shui nodded, "Okay, I will definitely go if I have the chance." There was no reason to stay any longer, so Xiaomi could only say goodbye to Gong Shui and the others and retreat. She came up with the mood of solving a riddle, but after she came up, she became even more suspicious. The riddle was not solved, but a bigger one appeared. Xiaomi knew that the person she saw was indeed Gong Shui. It was true that the clothes sent by their company were in her hands, but it was absolutely impossible for her to buy them. A front desk, even in Jinmao Tower, how high would her salary be in such a large company? How is it possible to spend thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars on clothes every month? Xiaomi returned to the company and immediately called Xiaoli and told her what happened. Xiaoli also believed that this Gong Shui could not be the same Gong Shui. By the way, how old is she? Xiaoli asked. About 20 years old, Xiaomi said. Then it's even more impossible. If it's Mr. Zhang or Xiao Zhao's friends, and they're the wrong age, I've been following them since Sijiking, and I've never seen them have such young friends, Xiaoli said. Is it possible that this is really her? She just likes our clothes. Her family is very rich, Xiaomi said. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiaomi shouted again, by the way, Xiaoli, is it possible that her parents are friends of Mr. Zhang and the others? This may be true. By the way, Xiaomi, didn't she agree to come and sit with you? When she comes, you can get to know her better. Xiaomi says yes. I'm going, Li Wei shouted behind her, and Xiao Li turned around and asked, what's wrong? Li Wei said, this Gong Shui, Sister Li, come and see this Gong Shui. It's still Gong Shui, Xiaomi, don't worry. Xiao Li said and walked to Li Wei with the phone. Li Wei pointed at the computer and said to Xiao Li, look, she actually gave us a neutral review for the first time, which has never happened before. Xiao Li thought for a moment and understood. She said to the phone, Xiaomi, did you hear it? I heard it, Xiaomi said. This is a warning to us. You disturbed her. If you go again, she will give you a bad review, Xiao Li said. Forget it, Xiaomi, no matter who she is, don't go there again. I'm afraid of losing such a good customer. Xiaomi said yes. A few days later, the neutral review was deleted. It seemed that Xiaoli was right. This was a warning. That Gong Shui, Xiaomi didn't wait until she came down to sit down. Thousands of people were working in the office building of Jinmao Tower, as well as guests from the Grand Hyatt Hotel above, and tourists who went to the sightseeing hall on the 88th floor every day. Xiaomi would never take the same elevator, even in the same building, and Xiaomi never saw Gong Shui again. However, for Gong Shui, she still bought the clothes on Doubao.com, which made Xiaoli relieved. He Hongmei and Xiaofang left, but two people came to Sanya, one was Lao Xie and the other was Hui Huan. Lao Xie's KTV in Haikan was contracted to someone else. He had nothing to do. He got a call from his hometown and said that his mother was not in good health. He went back to his hometown in Liaoyang, Hunan before the Spring Festival last year to spend the new year with his mother. In the first month of the year, his old mother passed away. After taking care of the funeral, he stayed for a few more months. He couldn't stay any longer and ran back to Haikan. He told Zhang Chen, it's no longer possible. It looks like I'm going to die in Hainan. I can't stay in my hometown anymore. It's so cold in the winter and so hot in the summer. When I get up every day, it's gray and I'm wearing a down coat. I went to see Lao Zhang and the others perform the Huago opera, but I still got cold and caught a cold. In the summer, I even got heat stroke when the air conditioner was blowing. How could it be as comfortable as in Hainan? Look at this Hainan island, Mr. Zhang, the sky above your head is blue every day, which makes you feel comfortable. The air smells of seafood. Here, I really don't even catch a cold. Zhang Chen laughed and said, the main thing is that you are wrapped in a down coat, and your straight trousers line can't even be seen. Cao Minfang and Fatty Fu both laughed. Fatty Fu said that Lao Xie, who looked like a boss from Hong Kong and Taiwan, would not be able to win back in Liaoyang. He was wearing a flowery shirt, and people thought he was wearing it wrong and showed off his guests' clothes. Zhang Chen almost burst out laughing after taking a sip of wine. He quickly grabbed a tissue, turned his head and covered his mouth with the tissue. Lao Xie also smiled. He pointed at Fatty Fu and said, "I mainly miss Fatty's mouth. No, when I returned to Haikan, I heard you were here, so I came over right away to have a meal." Zhang Chen smiled and said, "If I weren't here, you wouldn't be able to get a meal. Cao Minfang is so stingy that he won't even give you a meal. It's okay to rub your boss the wrong way. They are two very stingy people. When I was ordering, they stared at me, which made my hands tremble when I held the menu. I didn't even dare to eat any of the expensive dishes. Order, this Xiao Cao, I ordered too, and she said from the side, "Lao Xie, you have such a good appetite today? Is it a voiceover? What do you mean?" Cao Minfang scolded, "It's not like you tell me you have no appetite every time you see me. When I told you I had no appetite, I meant that I came here because I had no appetite. Don't you understand?" Lao Xie scolded and turned to Zhang Chen, "Just come. You are here. I can order whatever I want. What, let go." Lao Xie said, and the others laughed. "No matter, Mr. Zhang, I'll stay just a few days for you to stay in Sanya, and I'll take care of you," Lao Xie said. Zhang Chen said yes. "Anyway, I am still bored living in a hotel alone." "It won't be boring, Mr. Zhang. Didn't Hui Huan tell you that she will come to Sanya tomorrow?" Cao Minfang said to Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen said, "Oh. She called me at the construction site in the afternoon. The construction site was so noisy that I didn't even hear what she was saying." "I didn't hear what was said clearly, but you've always been nice, right?" Cao Minfang said with a smile. "She took it as your approval." Zhang Chen quickly said, "She doesn't need my approval to go to Sanya. Her master is here and she can come at any time." "Well, we are the ones who asked her to come," Cao Minfang said. When Hui Huan came to Sanya, it was indeed Cao Minfang who invited her. First, she wanted to come and study a new dish with Fatty Fu. This new dish was developed and can be used in Sanya and Hangzhou. Fatty Fu believes that Hui Huan has an intuition for ingredients, that is, she can use her imagination to know what will taste when paired with what. This is a talent that can only be possessed by a talented chef. Hui Huan often has unexpected imagination when it comes to the combination of ingredients. However, many times, the ingredients themselves are useless. They also need seasonings and seasonings to bring out their flavors. Sometimes, seasonings and seasonings are used to dilute the overly strong flavor of some ingredients and achieve a neutralizing effect. Chinese food is like Chinese medicine. The key lies in blending. A good Chinese herbalist is not afraid to use even highly toxic medicinal materials. The key lies in the amount and being able to use other medicinal materials to offset its toxicity. The same goes for chefs. There are hundreds of thousands of soup recipes in Cantonese cuisine, which sounds scary, but in fact there are hundreds of thousands more, even endless. Nature produces such abundant ingredients. If you combine a few of them at will, it will be a taste. How can it be exhausted? But in terms of the existing condiments and seasonings, as well as the heat, Fatty Fu felt that he had to rely on knowledge and experience. In this regard, he was better than Hui Huan. The two of them could be like two people when they were together. Doctors are consulting together to create new dishes. Another important reason why Cao Minfang invited Hui Huan to Sanya was that although Lu Hong had been the catering manager of the Banmushan Resort Hotel for more than a year, she was now transferred to the Banmushan Hotel as the general manager. There is a big difference between the catering department manager of a hotel and the general manager of a pure catering hotel. The manager of the catering department, the chef, and the executive chef are two parallel lines. He cannot control the chef. In fact, the status of the executive chef in the entire catering department is higher than that of the catering manager and the catering manager. More like his assistant, only responsible for the service aspect of the restaurant. The general manager of a pure catering hotel is different. He not only has to take care of the restaurant, but also the kitchen, not only the waiters, but also the chefs. If he didn't know a lot about it, how could he be fooled by those chefs? He doesn't even know it himself. Lu Hong was very lacking in this aspect, and Cao Minfang wanted Hui Huan to teach her. In restaurants and hotels, on-site management is very important, and the starting point is also very important. If a hotel fails when it opens and a bad reputation spreads, it will be difficult to turn around and become prosperous later. Cao Minfang has to be careful. This time Hui Huan came, Cao Minfang did not let her live in the dormitory with him, but arranged for her to stay in the guest room upstairs, diagonally opposite Zhang Chen, the room where Xiao Fang originally lived. Cao Minfang and Hui Huan said that Mr. Zhang is here alone. He is very busy every day and has a lot of social activities. Moreover, as you know, he is a bit silly when drinking and cannot dodge. If someone comes to him, he will do it. In Sanya, it is not very convenient for me to show up. You accompany him, help him block it, and take care of him by the way. You can't drink too much, and there is no one carrying water around. Hui Huan said yes and asked, why is it inconvenient for you to come forward in Sanya? Cao Minfang smiled and said, those are all well-known people. I know them all. Think about it, they can't let me go if I'm here. You and Mr. Zhang are both from other places, so they don't have that many people scruples. Besides, they all know my drinking capacity. If I help Mr. Zhang stop drinking, then I will be looking for death myself. If you pretend to be pitiful and say you are not good at drinking, they will let you go. Hui Huan nodded and said yes. She was thinking in her heart that anyway, she would have liked it if she had been allowed to spend more time with Zhang Chen, and taking care of him was what she was willing to do. Cao Minfang told Zhang Chen the same idea. Zhang Chen was overjoyed and said, okay, I was still worried about drinking so much every day that I couldn't do anything when I got back to the room. I still felt dizzy when I woke up the next day. The savior came, just in time. Thank you Hu Hu, third from top to bottom, 2 fishes, 1 above and 1 below. Thank you Hu Hu, Kuzio Kyokiu, Sun Boxhan, UN11, Rainman, user 229790848, book friend 140719121308709, book friend 201906211331102536, Feng Zhongli. Monthly pass. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1375. Every morning, Hui Huan would have breakfast with Lu Hong and Cao Minfang. The three of them would chat while eating. After breakfast, Hui Huan and Lu Hong would go to Renmin Road together to train waiters there. Hui Huan would also take Lu Hong there. The chef, tell her everything about the kitchen, especially what issues should be paid attention to. In the afternoon, Hui Huan returned to Banmushan Resort Hotel. She used her free time in the afternoon, when there were the fewest people in the kitchen and was the quietest, and together with Fatty Fu, she gathered around the piers and woks to create innovative dishes. Innovative dishes were not an easy task. Not only do the dishes need to be new, but the taste also needs to be new. They need to try it over and over again and change it over and over again. When it's time for dinner, if Zhang Chen has a social event, he will ask Hui Huan to join in. After Hui Huan became the general manager of Tuxianjiayuan, she dealt with different people every day, and she was no longer the same person who still had the traces between her eyebrows. A childish little girl who was a little shy in speaking, she is now very eloquent, has a soft-spoken tone, and speaks very appropriately. At the wine table, as long as there are women around, especially beautiful women, the most favorite thing for men to do is to make half-vegetarian jokes. Huihuan will no longer blush when she hears these, but will meet the conversation and block it back in a few words, with a good sense of proportion, making the other party embarrassed to continue, but not embarrassing. With Huihuan here, she was the center of the wine table. Everyone was surrounding her and looking for her when toasting. Jiang Chen felt much more relaxed. Huihuan has a good drinker, but she always pretends that she is not very good at drinking. She naturally blushes when she touches alcohol, which gives her a lot of advantages. Those who toast her always end up the other table mates, who were sympathetic to her, persuaded her to give Huihuan 2 or 3 glasses of wine. In this way, everyone was already very happy before Huihuan drank too much. Jiang Chen sat there, watching Huihuan stand up and sit up, and socialize with all kinds of people with ease. He felt that Huihuan at this time made him a little strange and a little surprised. After such a long time, if you look carefully, there were actually only a handful of times when Jiang Chen and Huihuan drank and ate together. When Huihuan opened the Huihuan local food restaurant, every time Jiang Chen went there, Huihuan was busy. When you are so overwhelmed, you don't have time to sit down. Besides, Jiang Chen didn't go with a large group of people. When Huihuan became the general manager of Tuxianjiayuan Hotel, it was the same. When Jiang Chen went to eat, it was also her busiest time. Even if she said a few more words or stayed in their box for a while, she would be the waiter came to call her and told her that a guest in a certain box was looking for her, or there was something she needed to deal with. Although Jiang Chen is the owner of Tuxianjiayuan Hotel, in the subconscious mind of the waiter, he feels that he is not a guest, but one of his own. His own people are never as important as the guests. It is natural for him to call Huihuan away from Jiang Chen for the sake of the guests. When Jiang Chen saw Huihuan, it was always when she was serving others. Only now, here, she is the one being served. What Jiang Chen still remembers is that they had a complete meal together at Huihuan's own restaurant in Sanbeo, and later, the night before the opening of Huihuan local food restaurant in Xiaosha, Jiang Chen many impressions of Huihuan remain at that time. Before the opening of Tuxianjiayuan Hotel, there was a period of time when Jiang Chen took Huihuan to eat in every hotel in Hangzhou every day. But that was not eating, but working. He was taking Huihuan to get to know and get familiar with other people's hotels. How does it work? Even then, there are other people around, and a few times, even Huihuan's father is present. This time in Sanya, they ate together almost every day. After observing closely, Jiang Chen realized that Huihuan was no longer the same Huihuan then, she had fully matured. If she was still a little girl at that time, she is completely a woman now, Jiang Chen thought. Even Huihuan at that time would probably be shocked if she saw herself today. When Jiang Chen was thinking like this, he started laughing. Huihuan noticed it. She turned her head and asked quietly, "Why are you laughing? Are you laughing at me for being stupid?" "No, no," Jiang Chen said quickly, "you are fine." Huihuan pursed her lips towards him and snorted naughtily. After finishing the meal, the two of them sent the guests to the parking lot below, watching them walk away one by one. The moment when only the two of them were left, there was always a sense of loneliness, and relief suddenly came, and they could finally take off their masks and do it. Returning to themselves, the two stood there, looked at each other, and laughed knowingly. As long as Jiang Chen is in Sanya, Jiang Chen must invite and do this drinking party. It doesn't matter when you are far away in the mainland. You have already arrived in Sanya and you didn't think of him. What do you mean? Whether it is Jiang Chen and others who ask him to do something next, or those who have already helped them, Jiang Chen has to invite all kinds of people, so his wine bureaus will be one after another. Zhang Chen has been in Hainan, he knows this place very well. He knows how important it is to treat people to dinner in Hainan. This is a place that pays too much attention to face and friendship. As long as Zhang Chen misses something or is not invited, he will feel that he is being neglected and looked down upon by Zhang Chen, and he will be in trouble. Next time you ask him for help, he will give it to you openly or covertly. It makes you miserable. Or if your matter obviously has nothing to do with him, he will try his best to make it relevant again, or he will trick you in secret or overtly. In a place where favors are greater than rules, he invites people to dinner and makes them happy. That's a big deal. Cao Minfang will make a list for Zhang Chen's daily drinking party. She is familiar with the local population and various intricate interpersonal relationships. She knows who can be invited with whom. 1 + 1 will be greater than 2. Here, I saw it. Both people will be very happy, but whoever is with whom, even if they are in the same department, they can never be together. Not only can't we be together, but you can't even mention the other person's name when eating. When things are done, it's obviously not the one who was invited to decide. The other person also helped, but it should also be said that it was his help and contribution alone. Before every wine game, Cao Minfang would list a few things to note and help them review them. This made Zhang Chen and Hui Huan feel that every wine game was like rushing for an exam. They were completing tasks that must be completed one by one. So when they stood in the parking lot and sent off all the guests, they all felt that it was finally over. And every time, because of Hui Huan's presence, the guests came and returned happily. This made them feel that they had completed the task and also had a sense of accomplishment, much like when they were studying and got good grades in the exam. That sense of accomplishment. Do you want to report to teacher Cao? Zhang Chen asked. The two of them always call Cao Minfang teacher Cao at this time. Didn't she assign the homework? After finishing it, don't they need to report to teacher Cao? Want? Hui Huan said with a smile, but even though they said they wanted to, in reality, none of them would actually call Cao Minfang. It was more like a transition for themselves tonight, a relaxed opening. Taking advantage of their excitement and bloated stomachs, neither of them wanted to go upstairs to the room right away. They would naturally walk along the garden, stepping on the stars on the ground, towards the beach outside. At this time, Hui Huan would naturally take Zhang Chen's arm, and Zhang Chen wouldn't feel rude. Didn't they just complete the task together? Zhang Chen would really have the feeling that they are one at this moment. Moreover, we are in another place. The words out there have a natural coldness and loneliness, which makes people unable to help but look for other support and warmth. The two walked forward hand in hand. No matter how hot the weather was, there were always guests having bonfires on the beach. When the lights in the garden dimmed behind them, the bonfires far and near still brought a sense of excitement to the beach at night. With a little light, the bonfire will be reflected on their faces and eyes. Hui Huan's head rested on Zhang Chen's shoulder. She seemed tired and needed a nap. Through her shirt, Zhang Chen could feel that her face was hot. Zhang Chen asked with concern, "Are you okay?" Hui Huan shook her head. "You drank a lot today," Zhang Chen said. Hui Huan said, Zhang Chen sighed, "Fortunately you are here. If you were not here, I don't know how I could survive these drinking games. I don't know how many times I would have been drunk." Hui Huan said softly, "I do." Hui Huan held Zhang Chen's hand tightly. Zhang Chen said with a smile, "Hainan people are like this. It has not changed since we first arrived in Hainan. Hainan people will never discuss things with you in the office, either during morning tea or drink and talk over dinner, and if you can't drink, you probably won't get anything done." Hui Huan said, "As hotel owners, don't we want everyone to be like this?" Zhang Chen smiled, "That's true, but there are still differences between this place and the people in this place. Compared with the people in Hangzhou, the Hainan people are more loyal and simple. In Hangzhou, you invite people help or thank others. In the wine shop, everyone does not talk about things, they just drink and don't talk about things, but the things are still there, let's talk about them on other occasions. Where are the people from Hainan? Hui Huan asked. Hainan's people stop talking when friendship is reached. There is no need to talk about principles or rules. If they consider you a friend, they can even pluck off their own heads and give them to you, let alone doing things. But most of the people we invited were not Hainan natives, but came from the mainland, Hui Huan asked, confused. Folk customs will be infected with each other. When mainlanders come here, they will also be infected with the rough atmosphere here, and they will also become more loyal. Apart from other things, have you noticed that the people here wear belts? It has to be loose, and the belt end is below the belly button. It looks like the pants are not worn properly and will fall off at any time. Is this the case in mainland China? Hui Huan thought for a moment, laughed, and said, don't say it, it's really, oh, how did you notice these things? I am a painter. I will definitely observe people's clothing, appearance, and details very carefully. I am not bragging. As long as I meet a person once, in 10 or 20 years, I will definitely still recognize him at a glance. Him Zhang Chen said. Okay, I believe it, Hui Huan said. By the way, now you can tell me, why were you laughing when we were eating? Thank you for the reward of 2 fishes at 3 o'clock in the middle of the night even though I didn't know who asked. Thank you for your monthly votes from ZIG, Book Friends 201906211331025336, Daos Hung 123, May, no matter who asks, I don't know, Book Friends 202012221032273342, Jinwu Lanji. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1376. Zhang Chen said, it's nothing, I just feel that you have changed a lot. No longer innocent, Hui Huan asked. No, you are capable, Zhang Chen said, compared with that little girl who only thinks about fighting with others when encountering problems, you have made great progress now. You know how to change any situation or person you encounter. Hui Huan was silent. After a while, she sighed and said, thinking about that time, it was a bit silly. However, I still liked who I was at that time. It was not as complicated as it is now. Yes, very cute, Zhang Chen smiled. You don't want it, cute, Hui Huan blurted out. Zhang Chen was stunned for a moment, not knowing how to answer the sentence, but Hui Huan quickly changed the topic. She said. I also learned from it. I saw Sister Shahan, Sister Xiaozhao, Sister Tianlin, Sister Hongmei, Sister Shuwen, and Sister Wei Venfang. They are all so capable. They are also women. Why can they do this? Well, I can't do it. I'm still a little unconvinced. In addition, Sister Shahan and Sister Xiaozhao have been encouraging me, and I feel that I have to live up to my expectations. I don't want to let them down, and there is no other way. I can only work hard and learn. Sister Xiaozhao and the others, it's been really good to me. Zhang Chen and Hui Huan walked to the beach. The waves kept ringing in the sea, but as soon as they touched the beach, they almost disappeared. They came up quietly and almost reached their feet before retreating. They did not move forward, but stood there, looking at the waves in front of them, as if they were folding the sea layer by layer, forming white waves. Hui Huan let go of Zhang Chen's hand and moved 2 steps. She stood in front of Zhang Chen and said to him, Brother Zhang, do you know that I have always liked you, but then I saw Sister Xiaozhao, and I told myself, no matter you like me or not, as long as Sister Xiaozhao is here, there will be nothing between us. Nothing will happen, I can't be sorry to Sister Xiaozhao. Zhang Chen looked at her and nodded. He saw two flames dancing in her eyes. It didn't look like a bonfire not far behind him. When it was reflected in Hui Huan's eyes, it looked like Kong Hui's eyes. The depths of one's eyes flickered with light. Zhang Chen stood with his back to the bonfire. He couldn't see anyone around the bonfire, but he heard men and women singing 10 Years by Eason Chan. The two stood for a while and walked along the coast towards the end away from the bonfire. When they walked again, Hui Huan did not hold Zhang Chen's arm, but stretched out her hand and took his hand. Her hands were as hot as her face. Zhang Chen hesitated for a moment, but did not pull his hand back. The sea breeze blew slowly, and the night became darker and darker. After the singing gradually faded away, the sound of the waves became clearer. Although several times, Zhang Chen felt that the waves had licked his shoes and the soles of his feet were soft, the sound of the waves was still some distance away from them. When the waves rolled onto the beach, the sound was already muted. He turned into foam and was buried silently in the sand and night. They walked further and further away, and when they looked back, they saw that the bonfire had shrunk to as small as a match flame. The 10 years that those people sang happily had become intermittent and faint when it came here. The two of them didn't speak for a long time and remained silent. When they got a little tired, Hui Huan pulled Zhang Chen's hand down. Zhang Chen knew that he wanted to take a rest, so the two of them sat down on the beach. After sitting down, there was still silence. After a long time, Hui Huan said, "I just don't want to give in." "What did you say?" Zhang Chen asked. "I said, I just don't want to give in," Hui Huan repeated. "Why are you unwilling?" Zhang Chen continued to ask. Hui Huan didn't answer. After a while, she said, "Brother Zhang, as you know, my parents only have 2 children, me and my sister. They don't have a very good relationship with my sister. They know that even if they get old, they can't count on her, so they, especially my mother, hope that I will find a boyfriend, get married as soon as possible, and have a family. This is normal. All the elderly think so," Zhang Chen said. "But it's very difficult, I can't find it," Hui Huan said. "How is it possible?" Zhang Chen said, "Your conditions are not bad, how can you not find a boyfriend?" Hui Huan said, "I was wrong. They are not worthy. I feel that these men are not worthy of me. They are far behind the people I like." Zhang Chen originally wanted to ask, "What is the person you like?" He didn't ask, but Hui Huan immediately told him. "Brother Zhang, do you know that in this world, I only like you? They are all far behind you." Zhang Chen smiled and said, "What's good about me? I'm a very ordinary person with a bit of a weird temper. Don't be fooled by superficial things. Do you know that we have already talked about my first girlfriend? It's been many years. That year, 3 of us, her and me, came to Hainan together, but she ran away with someone and I was dumped. That's because she has no vision. No, it's because you are short-sighted. You haven't even tried to look for her. How do you know that no man in this world is worthy of you? If you really look for her, you will find that there are still many outstanding men." "I will look for it," Hui Huan nodded in the darkness and said, "but there is one condition." "What conditions? You want to know?" Hui Huan turned her head and looked at Zhang Xinwen. Even in the dark, her eyes were bright. Zhang Chen nodded and said, "I think so." "Real? Real? Well, I'll tell you," Hui Huan said, "the condition is that after I give myself to you." Zhang Chen was surprised and didn't understand what Hui Huan meant. Hui Huan continued, "Brother Zhang, I have actually thought about it a long time ago. I must give myself to you. If I give myself to you, I will no longer be so proud. Only these people are worthy of me. Fall in love with me." Zhang Chen was stunned for a while, then smiled and said, "What logic?" "I'm serious," Hui Huan said seriously, "don't worry, brother Zhang, I won't pester you. I just want to give myself to you." "No, No, not to you. I just want to be with you, I think that way, I won't feel wronged and will be happy, otherwise, I will feel very sorry for the rest of my life. Jiang Chen sat there, feeling speechless. He remembered that when Huihuan said similar words, it was when he helped her open Huihuan's local food restaurant. At that time, Jiang Chen felt that Huihuan said such words. Having watched too many old dramas, she had deep-rooted ideas in her mind about repaying a favor, even if it was a promise of her own body. I didn't expect that she would still say such things today. Moreover, at that time, she was really still a child in Jiang Chen's eyes. Even if Jiang Chen liked her, he would not do such a thing. He felt that he couldn't bear it. How could he treat a child like this? If he, how is that different from the people in Sanbao village? Besides, Jiang Chen and Xiao Zhao have a family. Now, Huihuan has matured and exudes the charm of a mature woman. It would be too hypocritical to say that Jiang Chen and she hold hands and sit side by side like this, but their hearts are still stagnant. But Huihuan looked at Jiang Chen and said, "Brother Jiang, I." Huihuan looked at Jiang Chen in the darkness, looking at the person she had seen in her dreams countless times. She stretched out her hand and held Jiang Chen's hand. He looked at her blankly. Huihuan put her hand on her. Putting her hands on her face, she felt that her face was hot, but Jiang Chen's hands were cool, which made her feel very comfortable. Huihuan moved her body towards Jiang Chen, let go of Jiang Chen's hand, she reached out to touch Jiang Chen's face. Jiang Chen's hand stayed on her face, but Huihuan's hand moved away from Jiang Chen's face. Her face slid to his back and she hugged him. Huihuan's body was close to his. She felt that his whole body was very cool. She cried and murmured and wanted to melt into him. Jiang Chen heard a low, heart-piercing scream, and he felt his whole body shake. They walked back to the hotel. They didn't know how long they walked along the way. They stopped and stopped, hugging and kissing from time to time. Jiang Chen's mind was in chaos. When he kissed Huihuan, including the two people hugging each other, he would think of He Hongmei. He seemed to hear a voice in his heart that kept saying, "Sorry. Sorry." He didn't know who the voice was talking to, He Hongmei or Huihuan. This voice made it impossible for him to relax, but his body couldn't help but be entangled with Huihuan's body. This was an experience I had never had when I was with He Hongmei, or even with Xiao Zhao. If everything about Xiao Zhao was gentle and delicate, everything about Huihuan was passionate and stormy. Which is irresistible. But the strange thing is that Jiang Chen felt that every part and inch of her body seemed to be soft. Her softness was everywhere, like an octopus, wrapping him up completely, and she seemed so soft. It would turn into water at any time, and disappear together with the foam in the sound of the waves, making Jiang Chen have no choice but to catch her from the bottom of his heart. It seems that they cannot be separated even for a moment, and everything may be fleeting. This feeling attracts Jiang Chen, making him sink deeper and deeper, and makes him have to soften, feel distressed, and even feel distressed. Want to cry. The sea breeze blew the sea sand in front of and behind him, making a subtle rustling sound. Huihuan's voice lingered in Jiang Chen's ears, filling the whole world. The world outside this world has temporarily retreated. They continued to walk back, and when they almost reached the hotel lobby, Huihuan let go of Jiang Chen's hand, and did not even walk side by side with him, but walked into the lobby one after the other. The two of them went upstairs and arrived at the door of Jiang Chen's room. As soon as Jiang Chen opened the door, Huihuan smiled softly and pushed him behind. The two of them hugged each other after entering the room. "Thank you to the Evergreen Emperor Yan for your tip." "Thank you, the Evergreen Emperor Yan, the wind in my ears, the boat sank in the sky." Book friend 202003182329565519, the wind is strong. Book friend 1407191213087009, monthly ticket for Cloth Line. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1377. Hui Huan nestled in Zhang Chen's arms, and the two of them lay on the bed. Zhang Chen stroked her back with his hands and didn't speak for a long time. Hui Huan looked up at Zhang Chen from the bottom up and asked, "Brother Zhang, what are you thinking about?" Zhang Chen shook his head and told her that he didn't think about anything and his mind was a little confused. Hui Huan understood. She sighed softly and asked, "Do you regret it?" Zhang Chen was speechless. He also asked himself in his heart, did he regret it? If he had to do it over again, or if he hadn't drank so much wine at dinner and he was more sober, Zhang Chen felt that at that moment, he might stop and not continue, or he might not, and Zhang Chen himself didn't grasp. But now, nothing is possible anymore, everything that should happen has actually happened. Zhang Chen said, "If there is anything to regret, I have done it." Hui Huan remained silent. From his words, Hui Huan heard hesitation. Otherwise, he would have just said no and there was no need to say more. The cell phone on Zhang Chen's bedside table rang. He turned around and saw that it was He Hungmei. Zhang Chen didn't answer it and had no way to answer it. He couldn't hang up the phone and could only let it continue to ring. Both of them were silent. Except for the ringing of the phone, the room was completely silent. Zhang Chen longed for the ringing to be softer, but the ringing was like an alarm bell, swirling around the whole room. The sound hit the walls and bounced back, hitting them again. As if they were in an empty valley at this moment. Zhang Chen felt Hui Huan's body trembling slightly, and her right hand grasped Zhang Chen's shoulder so tightly that her nails almost dug into her flesh. Zhang Chen put his hand on her back and shook it gently, as if to comfort her that she was okay. But the ringtone of his mobile phone has brought Zhang Chen back to the real world, a world he cannot avoid, and there are people he cannot avoid. His mind was destined to become even more chaotic. After the phone stopped ringing, Hui Huan asked, "Is it Sister Hungmei's call?" Zhang Chen said Hui Huan still said, "Don't worry, I won't pester you. After today, I will be satisfied. Brother Zhang, can you spend this night with me?" Zhang Chen's thoughts were messy, and he was still a little distressed. Zhang Chen thought of Hui Huan's low, heart-rending screams in front of him. What is this? When such a woman lies in your arms, speaking to you like this, Zhang Chen only felt ashamed. How could you be so virtuous and capable that you would let others treat you like this? Zhang Chen felt a little sad, for Hui Huan and He Hungmei. He felt that they were all good women, and he was the only one who was so evil. He saw that he was standing on a very high place, precariously, unable to get down or up, and he was stuck on the left and right. All kinds of difficulties. Zhang Chen's chest was wet with Hui Huan's tears. Hui Huan said, "Brother Zhang, I know I can't compare with Sister Hungmei. She is a college student and a designer, and her family is so rich. Who am I? I am just a poor girl from the countryside. Without your help, I would be here today. I don't know anywhere, Brother Zhang, don't worry, I said before." Zhang Chen bent his head, kissed Hui Huan, and stopped her from saying any more. What are you comparing? Zhang Chen thought it was a bit funny. He Hungmei compared herself with Xiao Zhao, and now Hui Huan came to compare her with He Hungmei. What about me? Who am I competing with? Zhang Chen and Hui Huan said, "No, Hui Huan, no, it's not because of this, but, I feel that I am in a dilemma now, the situation is very embarrassing, I don't know what to do, to be honest, I like it very much He Hungmei." What about me? Do you like me? Hui Huan asked. Zhang Chen said, "If I say I don't like them, I would be lying to myself, but, Do you understand? One person has no right to like many people. Hui Huan nodded and said, I understand, Brother Zhang, I am very happy that you said that. Really, you are not dealing with me. What I want to hear is the truth. She wet her tears with her fingers and rubbed them on Zhang Chen's chest. After a while, Hui Huan sighed. It would be nice if it could be the same as before. How was it before? Zhang Chen asked. If a man could have 2 wives, I would be willing to be your little wife. Hui Huan said. No matter how confused Zhang Chen was, he couldn't help laughing. Hui Huan was anxious. She said seriously, that's what I really think. I will definitely be good to you and to Sister Hongmei. Zhang Chen smiled and said, how many of these messy things are there in your mind? Hui Huan sighed, however, Sister Hongmei may not be willing. Sister Hongmei seems not as easy to talk to as Sister Xiaozhao. Zhang Chen thought that this was really a way to get him down from that precarious height. He also thought that if this was possible, maybe Xiaozhao would have married Hongmei home, just like in 6 chapters of A Floating Life like that. Zhang Chen shook his head. He bent his head again, kissed Hui Huan, moved her head away from his chest, and sat up. Brother Zhang, what do you want to do? Hui Huan asked. Zhang Chen pointed to his head and told her, it's a bit messy here. I'll go down for a walk and smoke a cigarette. Hui Huan lay there silently. She watched Zhang Chen put on his clothes and picked up a lighter and cigarette. In order to show Hui Huan that she was not looking for a reason to lie to her, she went down to call He Hongmei. He didn't even take the cell phone on the bedside table. It was already past 2 o'clock, and all the lights in the hotel garden were turned off. Zhang Chen stood at the hotel's entrance and looked outside. The early morning breeze was cool and pleasant. Zhang Chen took an ashtray from the coffee table in the lobby and left. After getting out, he walked to the edge of the swimming pool, sat down, and lit a cigarette. In Zhang Chen's room upstairs, the lights were dark. Hui Huan opened the curtains and stood in front of the window. She couldn't see clearly where Zhang Chen was below, but she saw a spark of fire burning brightly by the swimming pool. Tears flowed down Hui Huan's cheeks. She thought about how much she was deceiving herself. How could a woman really like a man like she said, I won't pester you? In fact, in her heart, she didn't just wish she could be with Zhang Chen every day, she wished she could hang herself around his neck. Hui Huan wiped the tears on her face with her fingers and wrote Zhang Chen's name on the glass, and then her own name. The 2 names overlapped over and over again. The tears kept flowing, so she kept writing. After writing, she finally started sobbing. Zhang Chen didn't know how long he had been sitting by the swimming pool, but he had finished smoking half of the pack of cigarettes he had brought down. Zhang Chen sat for a while longer before getting up and going upstairs. He walked to the door of his room. The door was ajar. Hui Huan was afraid that Zhang Chen didn't bring the door card and the door would be locked. She folded a few pieces of hotel letterhead and stuffed them in the door lock. When Zhang Chen pushed the door open, the folded letterhead fell on the carpet at the door. The room was dark. Zhang Chen turned on the light and walked in. He looked inside and outside and found that there was no one in the room. He retreated to the corridor and walked to the door of Hui Huan's room diagonally opposite. He saw light leaking from the crack in the door below. After getting out, Zhang Chen reached out to press the doorbell, but put his finger on the button and did not press it again. He stood blankly for a while, sighed, and walked back to his room. At around 9 o'clock in the morning, the landline on the bedside table rang. It was Cao Minfang. Cao Minfang told Zhang Chen, Mr. Zhang, Jacques, and Jason are waiting for you to have morning tea. They said you still have something to talk to them about, right? Zhang Chen said yes, I'll be down right away and you arrange for them to order first. Zhang Chen finished washing up in a hurry and looked at himself in the mirror. There were still red threads in his eyes. He blinked a few times quickly and then walked out of the room. At the door of the restaurant, Zhang Chen met Cao Minfang. Zhang Chen asked, "Where is Hui Huan? What time is it now?" "She and Lu Hong have already gone to Renmin Road," Cao Minfang said. Zhang Chen walked into the box. Jacques and Jason were sitting inside. Jason and Zhang Chen said, "Mr. Zhang, I have ordered for you. You can see what else you need and add more yourself." Zhang Chen said thank you. Zhang Chen sat down at a round table with 3 people sitting in a triangle. Jason himself wanted to talk to Zhang Chen about the wood villa in the botanical garden, the wood selection, and he also had to act as Jacques' translator. Jason looked at Zhang Chen and asked, "Mr. Zhang didn't have a good rest last night?" Zhang Chen knew that his eyes betrayed him. Zhang Chen was right, he was reading something too late. Jason and Jacques looked at him and smiled strangely. Zhang Chen didn't know what they were laughing at, so he could only pretend not to see it. When he went to the bathroom, Zhang Chen looked carefully in the mirror and discovered that there was a clear kiss spot on his neck. It seemed that Hui Huan was really inexperienced. She probably didn't even know what a kiss was. Madara doesn't even know. Zhang Chen shook his head. Zhang Chen turned up the collar of his t-shirt to cover his kiss spots. When he turned around to go out, he thought of the word hiding something hidden, so he turned the collar down again. However, when the 3 of them finished their morning tea and left the restaurant, Zhang Chen walked at the end and quietly raised his collar. I don't know if Cao Minfang saw it in front of him. Zhang Chen said to Jason and Jacques, "Let's go, I will go to the scene with you." The 3 of them arrived at the preparation office of the tropical botanical garden. Zhang Chen called the bosses of several construction teams over and asked Jacques to scold each of them one by one in front of him. Zhang Chen asked several bosses, "Did you hear what this foreigner said clearly and just do as he asked? What you are doing is a key project in Sanya, not a chicken coop." Several bosses looked at each other without saying a word. Zhang Chen continued, "I will explain it to the finance department. If the foreigner does not approve it in the future, then the progress payment will be paid slowly, even if it is approved by the supervisor." Someone shouted, "But this foreigner's requirements are really too high, and this job is too difficult." Zhang Chen scolded, "You have the nerve to say that, but you don't even look at the wages paid to you. The reason why I give you such a high wage is to make you work hard. It's true that foreigners have high requirements, but that's just his normal standards are the same everywhere. Are you supposed to be a little worse than those in other places? Also, every time you rework according to his requirements, has the job been completed in the end? It has been completed, right? Why didn't you ask yourself like this from the beginning? Didn't you find this rework yourself?" The several bosses looked at each other. Although they had complaints in their hearts, looking at Zhang Chen, who usually smiled when they saw him, his words were so unpleasant today, so they didn't say much. "Thank you for the reward of 2 fishes at around 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you to Gu Chan, Gu Zio Kyokiu, Tianying 1978, West Wind, Salted Fish Sewer, Huangpu Phase 20, Yuengzi, and Jinsan for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North." Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1378. Zhang Chen climbed to the top of the mountain alone and found a shade to sit down. He was sweating profusely, but his mood did not calm down as expected. He remembered that day at the top of the mountain with He Hongmei and Xiao Fang. He Hongmei said that she didn't like it here. This place was too unreal and it was easy to isolate herself from the world. Zhang Chen smiled bitterly. Isn't that what he is doing now? When he climbed to the top of the mountain, he just wanted to isolate himself from the world. He thought that when he arrived at a place outside the world, all his worries would disappear. But is it possible? People's troubles come from the human heart, not the environment. Those who often express emotions about the passing of time are because you care too much about the environment, and you will feel its change. If you are in a state of paralysis, the stars will change and the world will be turned upside down. Nor will he be moved by it. Naturally, Jiang Chen would recall everything he had with Hui Huan yesterday. He had to admit that even now, under the bright sunshine, when he thinks back on it, it was a wonderful experience. If Hui Huan could do it now around him, Jiang Chen was not sure whether he would be with Hui Huan again in this unreal place. Many times, the body will always show its true face before our rationality. Those who are hungry have almost no room to think when facing food. When a man faces a beautiful woman or a woman you admire, the body will naturally show excitement, and reason is used to suppress this excitement. The reason why a saint is that he can make his body always look so unreal. Jiang Chen feels that he is not a saint. Jiang Chen looked at everything in front of him, shrouded in a haze of light. It was probably this haze of light that gave people an unreal feeling, as if they were in a dream. He was very sure that if Hui Huan got here, she would be amazed. She would not say whether she liked it or not, but more like, as long as you are here, it will be good wherever she goes. How similar is this to Xiao Zhao? Jiang Chen shook his head. He felt distressed again. This distressed feeling was because he felt that he had broken something beautiful. The relationship between him and Hui Huan, which he thought was pure, was different from that between him and He Hongmei. Pure love even shattered his imagination and deliberateness about himself. Chicken feathers everywhere. Have I become less innocent? Jiang Chen remembered Hui Huan asking him this. Jiang Chen wanted to tell her that it wasn't you, it was me who had become impure. Everyone has a favorite self. If Jiang Chen could choose by himself, he would like the innocent and awesome self in the theater troupe and Gao Hong. No one can buy it, and he cannot care about anything, because he doesn't care. If you don't buy it, you won't have any worries, and you won't worry so much about gains and losses, or even be indifferent. Jiang Chen took out his mobile phone. He found He Hongmei's phone number and stared at it, but did not make a call. He wondered where He Hongmei would be now, Hongdian or Beijing. He Hongmei always has so many things that she doesn't know and that are not transparent, so she makes herself guess. Jiang Chen thought that from today, not yesterday, he had become opaque to He Hongmei, such as why he didn't answer the phone and why he never called back. Jiang Chen stretched out his hand and pulled out a piece of grass with an unknown name. He put it in his mouth and chewed it. It was a bit bitter. Just like his current mood, Jiang Chen thought, is it true that in this world, every mood will have a certain kind? The taste should suit him. So many people will drink when they are in a bad mood. Is wine just the taste of a bad mood? Jiang Chen stared at He Hongmei's phone. This string of numbers was familiar yet unfamiliar. When he took them apart one by one, they were meaningless. When they were put together, their meaning came out. For example, it can be combined into a street sign, a hotel room number, or a phone number like this. It can also be combined into your ID card number, which represents your existence or non-existence. It can also be combined into a series of numbers on the report. Whether you put them on the left or the right, it is different for a company. Putting them on the left represents assets. The right side is liabilities, the left side may be accounts receivable, and the right side may be accounts payable. The movement of position can determine the life or death of the company. How wonderful is this? Jiang Chen wiped the screen of his mobile phone with his fingers. This group of numbers did not become clearer or blurrier, but this group of numbers represented a person and a familiar voice. When he dialed it, he can hear it. Jiang Chen's hand was on the dial button, but he didn't have the courage to press it. Just like last night, his finger was on the doorbell button of Hui Huan's room, but he couldn't press it. When he pressed this button, he could hear what he heard was a familiar voice, and when he pressed that button, he got a hot body. Is it right or wrong? I have no idea. Jiang Chen felt as if someone was asking this question. He raised his head and called out, but there was nothing above his head. Except for the pine needles of Mason pine, there was also the blue sky. The blue sky was so blue that it made people feel uncomfortable. Want to cry? Jiang Chen sighed, lowered his head and hands. He closed his eyes and sat there, as if he was about to fall asleep. The wind on the top of the mountain blew loudly, messing up the grass and leaves, Jiang Chen's hair, and the collar of his t-shirt that was standing up. Jiang Chen opened his eyes, picked up his cell phone, found CAO Minfang's number, and dialed it. He said to CAO Minfang, "Mr. CAO, please make arrangements and see who else needs to have dinner together. Arrange them for tonight. I will return to Hangzhou early tomorrow morning." "You want to go back to Hangzhou, are you in such a hurry?" CAO Minfang asked. Jiang Chen was right, there was something going on in the company and he needed to go back immediately. "Okay, I understand," CAO Minfang said. "If this is the case, then one box cannot be arranged, and two boxes are needed." "Okay, then you can arrange two private rooms. At worst, we can join the show," Jiang Chen said. Jiang Chen drove the car and left the tropical botanical garden and went back to the Banmushan Resort Hotel. He turned into the city and reached Renmin Road. Hui Huan was not here in the afternoon and went back to the Banmushan Resort Hotel. Jiang Chen asked the boss of the construction team here. He and Lu Hong called over and told them the last two areas that needed to be reworked. After Jiang Chen finished explaining, he asked the boss of the construction team to repeat his requirements, and then asked Lu Hong, "Do you understand?" Lu Hong said, "I understand, Mr. Jiang. When the rework is completed, you should check it according to the requirements. If it doesn't work, go back again until it meets the requirements," Jiang Chen and Lu Hong said, and Lu Hong agreed. Jiang Chen patted the boss of the construction team on the shoulder and said to him, "Brother, don't do wasted work, get it right the first time. Hello, hello, hello. Hello everyone, finish the work early and settle the bill early." I understand, Mr. Jiang," the boss nodded quickly. Jiang Chen left the hotel and drove along Renmin Road. When he passed a drugstore, he thought of something. He got out of the car, walked into the drugstore, bought a few band-aids, looked in the rearview mirror, and used the band-aid to cover the covering some of the purple kiss spots. I put my hand on the band-aid and patted it gently. Jiang Chen returned to Banmushan Resort Hotel, parked the car, and went directly to CAO Minfang's office. Hui Huan was also here. When she saw him coming in, Hui Huan blushed slightly and turned her head to the side. "Ouch, Mr. Jiang, what happened to your neck?" CAO Minfang shouted when she saw the band-aid on Jiang Chen's neck. Jiang Chen said, "It's okay. I was scratched by a branch at the botanical garden construction site." Hui Huan became anxious upon hearing this and shouted, "Let me see if the wound is deep and whether I should go to the hospital." As she said this, she came over and wanted to take off Jiang Chen's band-aid to see. Jiang Chen quickly covered the band-aid with his hand, avoided it, and shouted, it's okay, it just hurt a little bit of his skin. I was thinking that if this was revealed, it would be embarrassing. Cao Minfang would know immediately that there would be no second person who could leave a kiss mark on this neck. Jiang Chen wasn't the 2nd Artillery Group, and even the women the 2nd Artillery Group found would not leave kiss spots on men. They were professionals and would not do such amateurish things. Jiang Chen saw Hui Huan standing there, looking at him with a strange expression. Jiang Chen was afraid that Cao Minfang would notice something strange, so he quickly changed the subject. Jiang Chen asked Cao Minfang, "Have you made arrangements for the evening?" "It has been arranged. There are 2 boxes in total. One is for Su Lixing and the leader of the base, and the other is for the Planning Bureau, Forestry Bureau, and Soil Management Bureau. The boxes are at one end and one at the end. They will not touch each other. Arrive." Cao Minfang said. Jiang Chen nodded. You two should also divide your work at night. Cao Minfang, Zhang Chen, and Hui Huan said. Su Lixing and the leaders of the base don't like and are taboo about having unrelated women together. Hui Huan, you don't need to be there. This box appears, you are in charge of another box. Hui Huan said yes. Cao Minfang and Zhang Chen said, in Hui Huan's box, Mr. Zhang, you just need to show up one by one and say hello, and leave the rest to Hui Huan. She can handle them. Zhang Chen said yes, thank you, teacher Cao. Damn it, you screamed again, Cao Minfang cursed. In the evening, Zhang Chen and Cao Minfang were waiting at the door of the hotel. Su Lixing and Xiao Ding arrived first. Zhang Chen accompanied them upstairs. Cao Minfang continued to stand there. When the leader of the base arrived, Cao Minfang accompanied him up. After being brought into the box, she backed out. Just after finishing the round of drinks, Cao Minfang walked in, clapped her hands gently, and said to Su Lixing and others, sorry, leaders, I have something to do with Mr. Zhang and it will take up a few minutes of his time. Zhang Chen understood. He waved apologetically to Su Lixing and the others, stood up, and followed Cao Minfang out. Walking to the corridor, Cao Minfang whispered to him that everyone over there was here. Zhang Chen followed Cao Minfang into the box. The atmosphere in this box was very different from the one in front. It was very lively. Zhang Chen picked up the cup, gave a toast, and said to them, sorry, I still have things to deal with over there. As soon as Zhang Chen finished speaking, someone called out, Mr. Zhang, go and do your work. Just leave Hui Huan behind. Thank you Jin Sanzhenshi, Zixi Feng Zhongli. Age of Innocence 1122, Zongkai 727 monthly pass. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1379. Su Lixing and the leaders of the base finished their box very early. Zhang Chen and Cao Minfang sent them down and put them in the car one by one at the gate. There is still a table of plague gods, Cao Minfang and Zhang Chen said as they walked back. Zhang Chen smiled and said, you can also say he is the god of wealth. Cao Minfang turned to look at Zhang Chen and asked, aren't you annoyed? Zhang Chen said, if you treat them as gods of plague, you will be annoyed. If you treat them as gods of wealth, you will not be annoyed. We have such a big industry in Sanya. How could we do it without their help? Don't forget, Xiao Ding is also one of them, but he just happens to be a friend. That's true, Cao Minfang said. Everyone has their own way of living. If we were in their position, we would not necessarily be better than them, Zhang Chen said. Also, it's the same thing. When they help others, they are also helping. Why must they help us? We are not related to them. Okay, I learned it, Mr. Zhang, Cao Minfang said. When Zhang Chen said these words, he himself felt a little surprised. Why did Meng Ping seem to have the upper hand? But thinking about it, this was also his attitude all along. Although he was not like Meng Ping and Lu Ligan, who worked with various departments. He maintained close contact with other people, but he always treated them with an attitude of respecting ghosts and gods and keeping a distance. He doesn't need to interact too much with them, but he never offends them or speaks harshly to them. If others are kind enough to help you, you should be kind to them. Thinking like this, Zhang Chen thought of Lu Changcheng. He thought that when he was asked to annex Kuning garment factory, Lu Changcheng certainly had a reason to complete his job, but objectively, he didn't help himself. If it weren't for Lu Changcheng, he would not be where he is today, including every time later. Lu Changcheng had 10,000 reasons not to attend his activities every time, but he attended generously every time. For Lu Changcheng, his identity is his value. His attendance at your event is to build momentum for you, bring you advertising effect, and at the same time scare away many brats. Zhang Chen feels that he has been going smoothly over the years. Unlike when he was in Sanbao, the village security director would always come to trouble him. There were no imps coming to bother him. To a large extent, it was Lu Chengcheng and Lu Cheng's blessings again and again that made him. It has something to do with the reputation of the company. Of course, it also benefited from the help from Sun Ho and Xiao Huang. If you are in business, collusion between government and business will bring you big trouble. But if you say you have no contact, even if you don't contact, it is impossible. Especially for a company of Zhang Chen's size, how can you grasp the degree of it? It is beneficial to both sides, which is the greatest knowledge. Zhang Chen thought about the last time he met Lu Chengcheng at Pudong Airport. He liked their current relationship very much, that is, no matter how high you are today, they can still interact as equals. Under this premise, Zhang Chen thought, that is, there is no problem of people leaving and the tea getting cold. If one day Lu Chengcheng retires and returns to Hangzhou, powerless, Zhang Chen feels that he might visit him frequently and treat him to dinner. At that time, Lu Chengcheng will probably not have so many scruples. Zhang Chen and Cao Minfang went upstairs together and walked into the box. Everyone inside was already drunk. Seeing them coming in and shouting, another wave of climax was set off. Cao Minfang saw that Huihuan was already a little unable to withstand it. Knowing that she had drunk a lot of wine, Cao Minfang quickly picked up the wine glass and toasted everyone. By the time they finished eating in their private room, the other guests in the restaurant were almost gone. Zhang Chen and Huihuan sent the guests to the parking lot below and watched them drive away one by one. The two of them stood there and looked at each other. Today, instead of walking outside to the beach, he returned to the hotel, went upstairs and walked to the door of Huihuan's room. The two of them stopped in the corridor. Huihuan asked, "Are you going back tomorrow?" Zhang Chen is right. "Why are you leaving?" Huihuan continued to ask. Zhang Chen didn't respond. He had no choice but to lie to Huihuan like he did to Cao Minfang, saying that there was something going on at the Hangcheng company and he needed to rush back. "Let me see your wound," Huihuan said, and then took off the band-aid on Zhang Chen's neck. This time Zhang Chen stood still. Huihuan took off the band-aid and saw that it was not a wound, but a red spot. Huihuan was stunned for a moment, and then she understood. Her face instantly turned crimson, and Zhang Chen chuckled. "Bad guy." Huihuan cursed softly, put the band-aid back on, and pressed it with her hand. Zhang Chen said, "What should I do? I'm still showing off to people everywhere? Others will understand it at a glance." "Understand what?" Huihuan asked. "Understand who stayed." "So what?" Huihuan asked again. Zhang Chen was speechless. Yes, even if he knew it was Huihuan who left him, so what? Both of them are single, so there is nothing strange about being together. "What are you afraid of?" The two stood in silence for a while. Huihuan sighed and said, "Actually, you don't need to leave." "I think it's better to leave," Zhang Chen said. Huihuan understood, and her heart tightened. From knowing that Zhang Chen was leaving tomorrow to now that he said these words, Zhang Chen had already made it clear that there was no possibility for them to continue. Everything in between had ended from the moment Zhang Chen said he was going to go out for a smoke last night. Huihuan scolded herself in her heart, "Isn't this what you want? Don't be too greedy." The two of them continued to stand in silence for a while, and Huihuan said, "Then you should go to bed early." "Okay, so are you. You got up so early, didn't get much rest during the day, and drank so much wine earlier, so you should go to bed early," Zhang Chen said. "Okay, I will," Huihuan said, "then shall I go back to the room?" Zhang Chen nodded. Zhang Chen stood there, watching Huihuan open the door and go in. The door closed behind her, and Zhang Chen went back to his room. Zhang Chen finished his bath, put on his nightgown, walked to the window and looked down. After watching for a while, he walked back to the sofa and sat down. He took a cigarette and lit it. He turned on the TV and searched again, but found nothing. When he wanted to watch the program, he turned off the TV, threw the remote control on the sofa, picked up his phone and looked at it. There were still no missed calls. Zhang Chen felt a little strange. He didn't answer He Hongmei's call last night, and he didn't answer it. Today, he couldn't find a reason why he didn't call back. Zhang Chen hesitated and never called He Hongmei. And He Hongmei didn't call again. This was something they had never done before. Zhang Chen didn't understand what was going on. Zhang Chen put out the cigarette butt in the ashtray, stood up, walked to the inner room, fell on the bed, and stared blankly at the ceiling above his head. He sniffed his nose and felt that he could still smell the scent left by Huihuan last night. Breath. Zhang Chen sat up, took the cigarette from the bedside table, held it in his mouth, and picked up the lighter, but suddenly he didn't want to smoke anymore. He threw the cigarette and lighter back on the bedside table. He stood up and walked over. In front of the window, looking outside. There is actually nothing to see outside. No matter how beautiful the scenery is, staring at it will make people bored. Besides, it is night and it is still cloudy. The sea and sky are both dark. There is nothing to see except the garden of the hotel below. There are stars all over the ground. Zhang Chen felt uneasy and closed the curtains with a swish sound. He walked back to the bed and fell down. He continued to stare blankly at the ceiling above his head. Everything about last night was like a movie. It unfolded frame by frame in his mind. Ding dong ding dong. Someone rang the doorbell. Zhang Chen jumped up from the bed and hurriedly walked outside. He opened the door, but there was nothing outside. Zhang Chen stretched his head out to take a look. There was no one in the corridor. Only then did he realize that it was his hallucination. He closed the door in frustration and walked back to the room. When he fell on the bed again, he had to admit that although he was restless and pacing around, he had been waiting in his heart for the doorbell to ring and Huihuan to press the button for him. If Huihuan came in at this time, he felt that everything last night would happen again. He could only raise his hands and surrender obediently. He thought of Huihuan's clear eyes, her smile, her breathing voice as if she was talking in sleep, and her body that was tightly wrapped around her like an octopus, every inch of which was soft. Just thinking about it like this, Zhang Chen felt that he had a desperate desire to melt into the softness. Zhang Chen felt that his whole body was getting hot. He turned over and got up from the bed, walked to the closet, opened the closet, got dressed in a hurry, opened the door and walked out. He walked to Huihuan's door and saw the light leaking from under the door. Huihuan was here, too. Waiting for yourself? Zhang Chen's hand reached for the doorbell button. When his hand touched the white button, he retracted it as if he was electrocuted. He stood there blankly, staring at the closed door, shook his head, then shook his head again, sighed secretly, turned around and walked away, not back to his room, but towards the elevator. Zhang Chen went downstairs and exited the hotel door. Looking back, he saw that the light in his room was still on, and he was too lazy to go back. He walked through the hotel garden and walked to the beach in front. On the beach, there were still people having bonfires and laughing carefree. Zhang Chen turned right, stepped on the soft sand, and walked towards the Jinling Resort next door. Zhang Chen walked into the lobby of Jinling Resort and walked to the front desk. He told the receptionist to give me a double bedroom. Zhang Chen felt that if he stayed in the original room, sooner or later tonight he would be unable to control himself and knock on Huihuan's door. If so, he felt that his life would become a mess in the following days, and he would be struggling between two women. Sorry. Zhang Chen said softly. The lady at the front desk raised her head and gave him a confused look. Thank you for the reward of 2 fishes at around 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you, hoo hoo, Why can't you change your name, Sci-fi, and book friend 1407191213087009 for your monthly pass. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1380. Mr. Zhang, this is your room card. Please keep it. You are welcome to have a pleasant stay. The receptionist at the Jinling Resort handed the room card to Zhang Chen and told him. Zhang Chen said thank you. He turned around and walked towards the elevator. The lady at the front desk stood there, looking at his back, thinking to herself, this guest is really strange. Why did he come without any luggage at all? There were some empty-handed people before. There are many guests, but most of them bring girls here to eat wild food. Thinking of this, the front desk lady suddenly realized that after opening the room, a woman would probably arrive from behind soon. She curled her lips and snorted from her nostrils, as if she thought others didn't know. At this time, there were not many guests staying in the hotel, and the front desk lady was also bored. She simply lay on the counter, rested her chin on her arm, and waited to see what kind of woman would come in. If it was Ding Dong, she felt that Ding Dong should be the one to pay him. This 309 is quite handsome, much like the Hong Kong movie star Ng Janayu. The front desk of the hotel always likes to use room numbers instead of names. She feels that if the girl who comes in looks too different, the 309 will be lost, and if the girl is Ding Dong, it will be even less worth it. But she lay there and watched for a long time, but she didn't see any woman coming in. She didn't know why, but she became happy because of it. She picked up a copy of 309's ID card and read it again and again. Zhang Chen leaned on the bedside and looked at the time. It was already past 12 o'clock in the evening. He wanted to smoke, so he dug into his pockets and then remembered that the cigarette and lighter were still on the bedside table in the Ban Mu Tien Resort hotel room. When he went out, he originally wanted to go to Hui Huan's room, but he didn't expect to end up here. Zhang Chen picked up his mobile phone and pulled out He Hongmei's number. He stared at it for a while. It seemed that because he had just walked to the door of Hui Huan's room and touched the doorbell button with his finger but did not press it, it gave him some encouragement. The courage made him feel that he could face He Hongmei, and he finally pressed the dial button. The phone rang twice and was connected. Hello, He Hongmei's voice came on the phone. Although they had not spoken for more than a day, Zhang Chen felt that this voice came from the distant past and had not been seen for a long time. Zhang Chen calmed down. He originally wanted to ask whether you were in Beijing or Hongdian, but he immediately felt that there was no need to ask. He heard voices on the phone going south to north, as well as Wen Wen and Xiaofang's voices. Zhang Chen smiled and said, "It's so lively. You're still up so late." He Hongmei also smiled and said, "No, we just came back from the set, and we still have scenes to shoot in the evening. Now, we are waiting in line, waiting to eat dumplings and wontons." "And Hongmei, are you dad?" Zhang Xiangbei asked. He Hongmei nodded, and Zhang Xiangbei snatched the phone away and shouted into the phone, "Dad, Dad, you are already an old landlord." Zhang Chen was surprised and asked, "Why have I become an old landlord again?" "Today, the director asked me to play a small landowner who was beaten by his sister," Zhang Xiangbei said. Zhang Chen understood and laughed, "Hey, the little landowner was beaten by the little martial arts team member. How was your performance?" "The director said I acted like I was being beaten." Zhang Chen laughed, "Is that a conditioned reflex? If you don't believe me, ask Ent Hongmei," Zhang Xiangbei shouted and handed the phone back to He Hongmei. He Hongmei took it and said, "Yes, Bei did act very similar. He kept calling Mom for help, which made Xiaofang and I cry. It hurts to watch from the sidelines. Zhang Chen laughed and scolded, he must be acting in his true colors. He is really useless. If you ask him to beat someone, he will not be able to act well. When he is beaten, he will act like a bad actor. Go, who do you want him to beat? He Hongmei cursed. I'm going back to Hangzhou tomorrow, Zhang Chen said. Okay, since we are in Hongdian anyway, you won't be able to see us when you return to Hangzhou, he Hongmei said. Then I'll come to Hongdian too, okay. It's up to you, make your own arrangements. He Hongmei replied, and the two of them said a few other words. There were so many people around He Hongmei, and it was not very convenient to talk, so they hung up the phone. Neither of them mentioned that He Hongmei called Zhang Chen last night, but no one answered, and Zhang Chen never called back. After hanging up the phone, Zhang Chen let out a long breath. He felt that this phone call had connected everything in the past and life began to become normal again. Zhang Chen returned to Hangzhou. When Hui Huan stood there chopping vegetables, she almost cut her finger. She stood in front of the stove and scooped half a spoonful of oil into the pot with a horse spoon. The oil was already emitting black smoke and she almost lit it. She was stunned. He stood on the ground without putting the ingredients into the pot. Fatty Fu came over, turned off the fire with a click, and cursed, "What's going on, your soul is lost? Do you still look like you can work?" Hui Huan stood there with her hands hanging down, silent. Fatty Fu looked at her and saw tears welling up in her eyes. Fatty Fu sighed and said, "Go to the office and take a rest. We're here today. We can't win." Hui Huan walked towards Fatty Fu's office. She walked to the desk opposite Fatty Fu and sat down, laying her head in her arms. After a while, Fatty Fu came in, looked at her, put a pack of tissue paper in front of her, and said to her, "If you want to cry, just cry properly. There is no one now. Even if you cry like a pig, no one will hear you." Hui Huan raised her head, took out 3 or 4 tissues, turned around and wiped her tears. It was a little better when she was on Renmin Road in the morning. She returned to Banmushan Resort Hotel in the afternoon. Whenever she thought about Zhang Chen leaving, she felt aggrieved. It came overwhelming. The tissues in Hui Huan's hands were soaked, and she took out 3 or 4 more. "Because of Mr. Zhang?" Fatty Fu asked. Hui Huan made no sound. "Why are you crying?" "I have told you before that your matter is not over yet," Fatty Fu said. "It's not over yet. They all left me and went back to Hangzhou," Hui Huan said soothingly. "So what if you go back to Hangzhou? You will go back in a few days. Your affairs are far from over." "I believe, Master," Fatty Fu said with a smile. "Why, Master?" Hui Huan was curious. She raised her head and asked Fatty Fu. "You are not a light-hearted person." Fatty Fu looked at Hui Huan and said, "If you don't get what you want, when will you stop?" Hui Huan was stunned. Xiao Sheng came to pick up Zhang Chen at Xiaoshan International Airport in Hangzhou. When they left the airport and drove to the airport expressway, Zhang Chen and Xiao Sheng said, "At the intersection ahead, go right to Hangzhou. Let's go to Hongdian Film and Television City in Dongyang." Xiao Sheng said yes. Zhang Chen looked at his watch. It was now 2:40 in the afternoon. It was 156 kilometers from here to Hongdian Film and Television City. It would take about 2 hours to arrive. Zhang Chen felt anxious at the thought of being with He Hongmei again at night. A little excited again. Zhang Chen recalled this feeling, which was very similar to the way he had agreed to take over the Kuning garment factory in Lu Qinchin's office before going back to the Banmu Tian Life flagship store on Yan'an Road to see Xiao Zhao. He was like a criminal. The child who made a mistake went to see his parents. Zhang Chen couldn't help laughing when he thought of this. Xiao Sheng turned to look at him and asked, "You are so happy, are you going to Hongdian to meet He Hongmei?" "Zhang Xiangbei is there," Zhang Chen defended. When she arrived at the card collection office at the toll station in front, Xiao Shenkai went to the rightmost passage, received the card, and entered the Hangjin-Kuzhu Expressway. After crossing Xinjia and approaching the Xiaoshan exit, Zhang Chen's hand touched the band-aid on his neck. He was startled and said to Xiao Sheng, "The Xiaoshan exit ahead is a U-turn. We'd better go back to the company first." Xiao Sheng said, "Yes, not going to Hongdian? I forgot about another email. I need to reply today." "The information is still in the office," Zhang Chen said seriously. The car arrived at the Xiaoshan exit, got off the expressway, passed the toll station, immediately turned around, got on the expressway again, and drove towards Hangcheng. Zhang Chen secretly screamed in his heart, "It's so dangerous, how could the band-aid on his neck be taken off if he got to Hongdian?" He Hung Mei and Wen Wen, neither of them knew what it was, so why would he cover it with a band-aid? Zhang Chen returned to his office and rushed into the bathroom immediately. He took off the band-aid on his neck and took a look. The kiss spot was lighter in color than yesterday, but it was still clearly visible. Zhang Chen tore off a new band-aid, put it on again, pressed it with his hands, and then walked out of the bathroom. He sat back at his desk, picked up the phone, and dialed a series of numbers. After a while, He Hung Mei's voice came on the phone. Zhang Chen and He Hung Mei said, "I'm back in Hangzhou. I'll take care of things in the company first. I'll come to Hongdian the day after tomorrow or the day after tomorrow." He Hung Mei said yes. After hanging up the phone, Zhang Chen leaned back and leaned on the back of the chair. The reason why he called He Hung Mei and told her that he might go the day after tomorrow was because he was afraid. He Hung Mei knew that he had returned to Hangzhou, so she might rush back from Hongdian tomorrow, saying that she might go to Hongdian the day after tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow. "I'm sure it's because he doesn't know when the marks on his neck will fade away. So damn tired." Just such a small thing seemed to put a lot of pressure on him. Zhang Chen felt that with his psychological quality, if he were allowed to be a spy, he would probably die of exhaustion before anyone else could catch him. Zhang Chen picked up the phone on the table and dialed Su Kioxin. As soon as Su Kioxin heard his voice, she shouted, "You are back, I will come down immediately." Su Kioxin walked into Zhang Chen's office. Zhang Chen shouted, "Don't move, just stand there." Su Kioxin stopped and looked at Zhang Chen in confusion. "First explain, what did you call me on the phone just now?" Zhang Chen asked. Su Kioxin giggled, "Commissioner, in the movie, Ball Zhang and President Zhang, didn't everyone call him Chairman Zhang? Aren't you the CEO too? Why, you called him wrong again this time." "Do you think I'm bald?" Zhang Chen asked. "Just shave it off," Su Kioxin said. Zhang Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and shouted, "Okay, don't talk nonsense, come and sit down, and report on the work during my absence." Okay, Su Kioxin came over, sat down, and opened her notebook. It seemed that she was well prepared. Su Kioxin looked at Zhang Chen and laughed from time to time while reporting on her work. At first she just laughed secretly, but then it became more and more frequent. Zhang Chen was confused by her laughter. Before he asked, Su Kioxin couldn't help it anymore. He turned his head and laughed. Zhang Chen scolded, "Why are you laughing? Reporting on work, is it so ridiculous?" Su Kioxin waved her hand, "No, no, Mr. Zhang, I'm sorry. It's you here." "I couldn't help but laugh when I saw it." She pointed to her neck again and said to Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen asked, "What's wrong here? Have you never seen a band-aid?" Su Kioxin laughed and said, "Mr. Zhang, I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing at myself. What happened to you before? I used to fall in love in school, but that damn thing always deliberately gave me kiss marks here. He also told me that this was his unique mark, which made me have to wear it the next day. I went to class with a band-aid, but my classmates were still surprised and asked me, 'Su Kioxin, why do you always get hurt in your neck?' Su Kioxin smiled while talking. Zhang Chen also laughed. Su Kioxin continued. That damn thing is very proud. On my birthday, guess what he gave me? Such a big box of band-aids, Su Kioxin said, making a square shape in the air with his finger. Zhang Chen laughed and asked, where is such a romantic ex-boyfriend now? I don't know either, Su Kioxin said. We talked for more than a semester, and I dumped him. I don't know where he is now. No, Mr. Zhang, you don't have kiss spots here, right? Zhang Chen scolded. Ban, you are so big, do you want me to show you? As Zhang Chen spoke, he looked like he was going to rip off the band-aid. Su Kioxin quickly shouted, forget it, stop. Thank you Daekyong 666, Jinsan Progress, Feng Zhongli. Monthly Pass. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1381. Zhang Chen then went to the financial center, and then to Ji Ling's design center and Xiaoli's sales company. Ji Ling and Zhang Chen said that after the Shanghai branch moved to Jinmao Tower, Xiaomi suddenly had more customers. With more than a dozen private customers, it seems that Jinmao Tower is still convincing. It costs $1.2 per square meter per day. Do you think it's attractive? I gritted my teeth and rented it. There is no other way to do it privately. It just relies on gimmicks, Zhang Chen and Ji Ling said. That would save us trouble in Hangzhou, Ji Ling said. Is it easier to live in Hangzhou? In Hangzhou, we have a dynamic zone, specialty stores, a lakeside oil painting gallery, and a factory as big as Xiaosha behind it. If the specialty store on Huihai Road in Shanghai is still there, we don't need the Jinmao Tower. Now that there is no more, it is necessary. Comparatively speaking, Beijing is the most difficult, but fortunately, there are stars to support it. If Beijing didn't have your senior sister's reputation in the film and television industry and Wen Wen's face, it would be much more difficult for us to rely on ourselves, especially after the store is demolished. Ji Ling nodded and said, Master, what you said makes sense. When she arrived at the sales company, Xiaoli told him that Xiaomi had gone to Gong Shui's company. Zhang Chen laughed and said, you guys are really troublesome. While saying this, he was thinking about what this little girl in her 20s would have to do with him. After thinking about it for a long time, he still couldn't figure it out. The page about Gong Shui was just turned over. Zhang Chen thought to himself, the other person is probably just a rich geek. Isn't there any geek on the internet who has spent more money than a new camera to buy a second-hand camera, only to be considered a big fool by Zheng Huiyang and her colleagues? Zhang Chen walked around and returned to the office. It was already past 4 o'clock. He called Lu Ligan and told him that he was back. Lu Ligan said that they would have dinner together in the evening. Zhang Chen said yes, I will go to Xiaosha factory to have a look now. You guys can come in and go to Tuxianjiayuan to eat? Lu Ligan said yes. Zhang Chen thought to himself that he might as well go over and see what would happen to Tuxiang Garden when Huihuan was away. Zhang Chen received a call from Lu Ligan and went to Tuxianjiayuan from the factory. The greeter at the door told Zhang Chen that Mr. Lu and Mr. Tan had already arrived. Zhang Chen nodded, but was not in a hurry to go upstairs. Instead, he went to the kitchen and other places to take a look. When he saw that everything was in order, he felt relieved and secretly admired Huihuan in his heart. Zhang Chen has always believed that being a good manager does not depend on how busy you are at your job. You are so busy that you have to run as a waiter every day, helping to carry the dishes. In that way, you have to take care of yourself. Demoted from general manager to waiter. Rather, it should be based on how free you are. Almost no one is looking for you. It seems like you are idle all day long, but underneath you can still operate normally and at a high speed. This is someone who understands management. The fact that you are fine means that everything has been implemented and someone is responsible below. You go and serve the dishes yourself. How many dishes can you carry by yourself? Each waiter making one extra trip for each meal eliminates the need for you to serve the dishes yourself. Your duty is to encourage the waiter to make one more trip. If you use machines to describe it, Zhang Chen thinks that the latter case is Heidelberg's Speedmaster printing press. The machine will run automatically as soon as the button is pressed, while the former case is like those domestic printing machines that require several people. Staring at every link, I was so busy every day that my back ached, but my productivity was not high. Zhang Chen looked around and understood. It seemed that Huihuan had the guts to leave for more than a week to go to Sanya. This Huihuan had never studied management and was not highly educated. How could she do this? It's really what she said, working hard to learn, and another one, Zhang Chen thinks, is to think about it. Zhang Chen went upstairs and walked into the box. He saw not only Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan sitting here, but also Lao Tan and Chu Tianlin. Lu Bang, the emperor of the Han dynasty, was also there. Lao Tan asked Zhang Chen about Sanya. Zhang Chen and him he said that the progress was faster than expected. Su Lixing and Xiao Ding were very helpful, and the old leaders of your base were also very considerate. Lao Tan nodded and said, "That's good." Zhang Chen asked Tan Shahan and Lu Ligan, "How are you doing?" Tan Shahan said, "It's the same as before, tepid, but life is still okay. I heard that the real estate fair will resume in October. I hope it can bring back more popularity. I can see that the real estate industry is in a downturn, and the ones who are most worried are not us, but the local government." Lu Ligan said, "Think about it, they are the ones who take the big bucks, and we are just eating some leftovers. Rice, if you are used to living a good life, who would be used to living such a miserable life?" A day later, Zhang Chen looked left and right in the mirror again. The kiss spot on his neck had basically faded away. He couldn't see it unless he looked carefully. Even if he looked carefully, it was just a patch of red. He couldn't tell what it was. You can explain it anyway. Even if you were bitten by a mosquito and scratched it with your own hands, it would look like it. Zhang Chen felt relieved and drove to Hongdian Film and Television City in Dongyang. Before Zhang Chen left, he called He Hongmei. He Hongmei asked him if he wanted to go to the set to watch the filming. Zhang Chen said, "No, isn't this filming just like our previous theater rehearsals, with an extra camera set up? What's there to see?" "Okay then, you go directly to the VIP Tower Hotel in Hongdian. I'll wait for you at the hotel," He Hongmei and Zhang Chen said. When Zhang Chen drove to Jinhua, there was a ding and a text message from He Hongmei was sent. Zhang Chen opened it and looked at it. It was the room number and the address of the hotel. After passing Jinhua and halfway through the journey, Zhang Chen suddenly became nervous. He was hesitating along the way. Should he tell He Hongmei about himself and Huihuan? Don't tell him. He felt a little embarrassed to face it. Tell him. And felt bad, not for themselves, but for Huihuan. How could He Hongmei and Huihuan meet in the future? At the same time, Zhang Chen felt that he had already felt sorry for Huihuan and was bullying her by leaving Sanya like this. It was you who accepted her flirtation in the first place, and you were the one who was happy. Afterwards, you pretended to be cool and thought about it and walked away. No matter how you say it, your behavior is despicable. Do you still want to increase the pressure on her and give her a blow? Zhang Chen knew very well that compared to He Hongmei, Huihuan thought she was at a disadvantage. If He Hongmei knew about this, if she did anything to Huihuan, Huihuan might not even be able to parry, although Zhang Chen thought that, what will happen to He Hongmei, but who can say clearly about this kind of thing? Regardless of whether he said it or not, Zhang Chen felt that the frank relationship between him and He Hongmei was no longer there. He was responsible for this relationship. For so many years when Xiao Zhao was still around, he and He Hongmei had always kept their differences, even if no matter how much time we spend alone together, we will never go too far. Why? Isn't it just to live up to this frank relationship? Now, everything is broken by itself. Zhang Chen sometimes thinks about himself and feels that he is worse than Lu Ligan and Second Artillery. If they want to do anything, they will at least publicize it in advance, but he does it quietly and covertly. It is really not good. A barking dog is the best at biting, he. Zhang Chen arrived in Hongdian and found the VIP building hotel. The style of the hotel is very similar to the Huanglong Hotel in Hangzhou. The tallest main building of the entire hotel only has 5 floors, but it is the best hotel in Hongdian. It is said that there are many big-name directors and actors always stay in this hotel when they go to Hongdian for filming. Zhang Chen drove past the hotel gate and drove to the parking lot through the glass door. He saw He Hongmei inside the door, looking outside. He Hongmei also saw Zhang Chen, opened the door and walked out. Zhang Chen and He Hongmei waved and continued driving to the parking lot. The hotel's parking lot is open air, without any shelter, and the entire area is exposed to the sun. Zhang Chen parked the car, and when he got out of the car, He Hongmei had already walked over holding a parasol. Zhang Chen was anxious all the way, but when he saw He Hongmei, he suddenly calmed down and asked, "Where are Xiaofang and Xiongnan Xiangbei? I'm on the set with Wen Wen. We won't finish work until about 7 p.m. today when it gets dark," He Hongmei said. When the two of them arrived in the room, He Hongmei hugged Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen hesitated and hugged her too. There are still several hours until 7 o'clock, and these few hours belong to them. Zhang Chen was leaning on the bedside, with He Hongmei nestled in his arms. Zhang Chen stroked He Hongmei's hair as if it was stuck in his throat, and couldn't help but talk about the missed call that day. He Hongmei sat up and sat cross-legged across from Zhang Chen. She looked at him and said, "It's nothing. I'm calling you. If you don't want to answer, just don't answer. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. I won't call you a second time. Do you feel that this is probably the final way we break up?" "What did you say? I didn't understand," Zhang Chen said. "I mean, if we break up, what I don't like the most is two people talking bad words to each other. That will completely tear up the good things in the past. I don't want that. I hope that even if we break up, it will be peaceful and quiet. When you break up, even if the ending is not perfect, don't ruin the beautiful process. I say this, do you understand?" He Hongmei asked. Zhang Chen nodded and said, "I understand." He Hongmei continued, "That day, I called you, but you didn't answer or reply. If you didn't reply, I wouldn't call you a second time. Maybe we would break up like this. Someday in the future, you will call when I was young, I might be like this too, and our contact would be interrupted like this. Or one day, I don't want to come to Hangzhou anymore, and you don't want to go to Beijing anymore, and we might just break up peacefully. When that day comes, let's not ask the reason and just accept the reality quietly, okay?" "I can't imagine what you're talking about," Zhang Chen said. "You don't have to imagine, just don't put pressure on each other. If you still want to call me when we are old, and I still want to see me, then we will be really good, and we will be good for life." Zhang Chen smiled and said, "Are you too idealistic?" "Yes, it is indeed very idealistic, a bit like the plots in movies and novels, right?" He Hongmei said, "but this is what I want." Zhang Chen shook his head and said, "That day, I didn't answer the phone. Actually. SHH, don't say it." He Hongmei put her middle finger on her lips and interrupted him. He Hongmei said, "Everyone has his own reasons for doing things. There is no need to explain. You have to think about the time to explain. There will be pressure. I said before, don't put pressure on the other party. I don't want that. Thank you to the Evergreen Emperor Yan for the reward of 2 fishes at 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you to Evergreen Yan Dottie, First Home Mortgage, Qingdao La Sun, Tianying 1978, Fang Xiaoluo, Zipanjiang 1, Book Friends 1407191213087009, and the Frivolous Monthly Pass. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health.